Yasena Pratida Ranamuna Advaita Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyagini Ambatvamanu Sandata Bhagavat Gite Bhavadheshini.
Yes, the orientation is
ninth chapter, the initial verses. I have already circulated yesterday the introduction part of it. From there you can catch on the 9th chapter. Yeah.
Page 159. The orientation is existence is an attribute of an object. That is where we have to start. So, Kumar, you are able to locate it?
Page 150. 150 in the 6th volume.
Kumar, chapter 9.
Slokam, chapter 9 is okay, sir. Slokam. Which slokam?
Fourth sloka.
Fourth sloka.
Fourth sloka. But we have already finished 2-3 pages.
Okay.
In that, there is a subheading. The orientation is existence is an attribute of an object. Okay. Generally, existence is considered.
See if he has located it. Our locate panittara paattu padikka.
Hope you are locating it.
In the course of the discussion, I will locate it.
Okay.
Just open the PDF.
Third page is 150. After the fourth sloka, that the orientation is existence is an attribute of an object. After Anupalabdhi definition, he is coming to this para. So look for Anupalabdhi para and then the next para. Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, existence is considered as an attribute of the object. For example, you say the pot is existent. Here, existence comes from an attribute that distinguishes this pot from an absent or a destroyed pot. This existent pot you will later call a destroyed pot. So when you say this is an existent pot, existent is used as an opposite to non-existent or destruction. Since there is such a thing as an absent or a destroyed part, you can say this is an existent part. The knowledge that you have of existence is always opposed to non-existence. The fact that it exists only means that it is not yet destroyed. This is how your buddhi grasps existence, and because of that, it is always an attribute imputed to an object.
This is what normally we say, that Sokale Satyavad Bhati, that Satyam is whatever we think is opposite to Asatyam, what doesn't exist. Opposite of that is exist. That is what we think as Satyam, which is not so. That Satyam has nothing to do with the existence or non-existence. Non-existence is. Existence is. That is Satyam. In the definition of our definition of Vedanta, Satyam is what is. Both existent as well as non-existent is. That I know Sanskrit is. That I don't know Sanskrit is. So both existent and non-existent is because you are able to distinguish between existent and non-existent. That isness is referred to as existence. That is what he is trying to say. It is not an orientation of an existent attribute as an existence. That is what he is explaining. That Matsani Sarva Bhutani also, people generally we think that what is there in all the Bhutas is isness. No, that is why in the next verse he is going to say Nachamastani Bhutani. I am Matstani Sarva Bhutani, all beings exist in me, but I don't exist in any of them. That existence is that which controls both existence and non-existence of all Bhutas. That being I am referring to as Sat, existence. It is different from the attribute of an object. That is what is explaining in this para. Yeah.
Vedanta just reverses this orientation. Vedanta's whole intent is only to dismiss this orientation of existence being an attribute. It says existence is not an attribute. It is unlike anything that you know. To this existence, It is objects that are so-called attributes. Let us look at it in a simple form. Suppose I say this is a gold chain. Here the gold becomes the attribute and the chain substantive. It is not a mere linguistic orientation. It reflects an orientation in your vision, your way of looking at the world and yourself. It means you see myself as a mortal being who is existent now, subject to aging, to time, and is going to be destroyed one day. All these are involved in this simple statement. In Vedanta, we reverse this vision. If we say gold chain, chain has the status of a substantive and the gold an attribute. Do we add some gold to the existing chain? If we do, it is a gold plated chain, not a gold chain. I am talking of a gold chain. In fact, all that is there is gold. Chain being purely a nama rupa. It's an entirely different vision. The gold becomes satya, existent, and the chain becomes namarupa, seemingly added to gold. Why seemingly? Any real addition should bring an addition to the gold. But here we find the chain's appearance does not bring any addition or change to the gold. The gold substance, the swarupa, its weight and other properties remain the same. Even with the appearance of the chain, the gold retains its own nature, so we say the appearance of the chain is a kind of addition, a seeming creation. We cannot totally deny a creation because we see the chain. Even so, it is only a seeming creation because there is no beginning of a substantive. The gold has been, the gold is, and the gold will be. There is no real chain at all. It is nothing but an incidental namarupa attributed to the gold. Therefore, it is a sort of addition to the gold. If the gold could talk, it would say, all these golden ornaments, gold chain, gold bangle, gold ring, gold earring, gold nose ring, gold ring, have that being in me. The existence of the chain is entirely dependent upon the gold. Therefore, in Vedantic language, we will not say gold chain, but chainy gold. I have to completely change my language just to express this vision. In fact, it is not really the language we have to change, but our vision. When we say gold chain, we must know that what we are saying is that the chain is gold. Swamiji, gold is also Namarupa, no?
Yeah, that is true. That is why, in Drishtanta and Darshtanta, the rule is, to that extent what we want to explain the Darshtanta, only to that extent you must look at the example. You should not extend it beyond that. That is why when you say gold is also Namarupa, that is fine. But in this particular case, we say gold is a substantive. All ornaments that are born out of gold are only Namarupa. That is the example. So, assuming that gold is a substantive, everything else is, whereas gold itself is only a substantive, only an adjective to Panchabhutas. Okay, and the Panchabhutas are only adjective to Atma, Satyam. So, from the standpoint of the ultimate reality, all these are only Mithya attributes, including gold, including clay, including all Akasha, Vayu, Agni, all the Panchabhutas are all only, Bhutas are all only Namarupa. That is fine. But in this example, he is trying to limit the example to the saying that gold is substantive, chain, ring, etc. are only attributes, Mithya attributes, meaning Namarupa. That is all. So you should not extend. The rule in the example is you must take the limitation of the example. To that extent, what is being conveyed, only that much example you must look at. You should not stretch beyond that. Then you will get confused. So we should not. That gold itself is only a Namarupa, that you keep it aside for the time being. Look at it, gold is substantive, that's all. Yeah.
Same way clay pot.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That is why when I said that, always I extended beyond that. What is clay, silica, what is silica, etc. Go to that. Finally, consciousness is only being. Everything else is Namarupa. That is how final understanding is. But this is only till the time These are all examples used to take you one step further. That's all. Yeah.
Similarly, if this entire creation is Ishvara, it means the creation is the attribute, Ishvara is Vastu.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he's now saying. Correct.
Paramatma is Satya, and the entire creation is nothing but Namarupa.
Yeah, now your gold also is included in that. Yeah.
Therefore, Krishna says, Matstani, Sarva Bhutani, all beings are in that existence, which is I, the Atma. Sarva Bhutas include my body, my senses, and all that I know, my Ahankara, and even ignorance. Ignorance is, that is Atma. Consciousness, the thought is, the knower is, seer is, hearer is, thinker is, thinking is, emotion is, memory is, and so on. Then anything that you say.
That's why in Purusha Suktam, as I explained to you, Tamasah Param. Tamas means ignorance. Tamasah Param means ignorance also is blessed by Param. That is what he is saying. Ignorance is, that is.
And that is which is qualified by whatever you say is itself unqualified. So the statement Matstani Sarva Bhutani is meaningful. Now it is clear what was meant by Maya Tatam
Idam Sarvam. By me, everything is perfect.
Tatam Idam Sarvam. Everything is pervaded by me. It means nothing is away from me, is anything that is consciousness, is the Atma. If any piece of knowledge, there is consciousness involved, and that consciousness is Sat Chit Ananda Atma. And it is Avyakta because it is not an object. The means of knowledge you have can only bring the objects to light. The object is, and that is you. This is something you appreciate not in the way you are used to, because the one who appreciates is also pervaded by Atma. As is the knowledge of the object and the object itself. Atma is self-evident, not an object that is to be known.
Yeah, see, what he means is, the one who appreciates is also pervaded by Atma. So when he says that, the knower also is, knowledge also is, the known object also is. That isness pervades knower known knowledge. Whereas knower known knowledge, the variations, the triputi are only for Vyavahara, useful for Vyavahara. There is no real difference in terms of the being, Atma. That is what he is trying to say. Yeah.
And it is Avyakta because it is not an object. The means of knowledge you have can only bring the objects to light. Yeah?
You are repeating. The object is.
First the Lord said, the means of knowledge you have can only bring the objects to light. The object is, and that is you. This is something you appreciate, not in the way you are used to, because the one who appreciates is also pervaded by Atma. As is the knowledge of the object, and the object itself, Atma is self-evident, not an object that is to be known. Thus the Lord said, Maya tatam idam sarvam, by me, all that is pervaded. It means Atma is in every being. Next by saying, Matstani sarva bhutani, all beings are in me. He completely changes the situation. In this particular expression, there is potential problem. While everything has its being in me, I am not in any of them. There is a common notion that in every heart there is a divine spark. Atma is looked upon as something located in the buddhi of every being. According to this, buddhi can be construed as the basis, the Atma as the base, with a basis-based relationship between buddhi and Atma. To eliminate such notion, Bhagavan says, Na cha aham teshu avastita. While all of them have that being in me, I am not in any of them. We have hundreds of such paradoxes. The meaning is simple. All of them are in me because you may think that I am located in them, I say that I am not. They are all located in me. That is, I am the Sat of everything. Like even gold is the Sat of all things golden. In every gold chain, there is gold. Gold is not located in the chain. Chain is gold. The gold does not exist in chain. In the sense, it does not depend upon the chain, which is only the Nama Rupa. The very existence of chain is because of gold. If the chain is, the eastness is nothing but the eastness of gold. Therefore, gold does not exist in chain, whereas the chain exists in gold. One is Satya, the other Mithya. Satya does not exist depending upon Mithya, but Mithya cannot exist without Satya. This is the whole intent here. So, Matstani, Sarva Bhutani, all of them exist in me, but na cha aham teshu avastita. I do not remain located in any of them, any one of them. I becomes the Adhara, basis of everything, but I am not Adeya, based upon them, because they are Mithya. I am Satya, the truth of all of them. They have that being in me, but I do not have my being in them. I am not dependent upon them for my existence, while they depend entirely upon me for their existence.
So here, see here again, the Adhara Adeya basis. Okay, the Adhara Adeya basis is generally referred to two substances of the same order of reality. Okay, like Neiki Donne Adharama, Donne ki Nei Adharama, there will be in Tamil, there is generally a saying. Neiki Donne Adharama, Donne ki Nei Adharama. The Donne Edutha Nei will not stay. But generally we give more importance to Nei compared to Donne. We take it for granted. Okay, but the fact is, Adhara Adeya Sambandha is basically because dependent and dependent both have the same level of reality. Whereas here what will happen is, here it is called, Atma is referred to as Adhisthana, and everything else is Adeya. In the sense it all depends on that, because Adhisthana is a different level of reality. It has no Vastu. It is Vastavam. It is not an object. It is not like even gold. It is not even an object. Okay. So here when we say chain is in gold, gold is not in chain, it is a bit difficult to understand because gold is very much there. Because we know both are of the same level of reality. Whereas when we say, Bhagavan says, Mastani Sarva Bhutani, and in the next verse is going to say Nachamastani Bhutani, what he means is that the being is having a level of reality which is Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam, which we have been discussing right from beginning. Whereas whatever your bhutas are all changing all the time, changing. And because it is changing, it is not real all the time. Because it is changing means what? What is there before is not there later. So that is called changing. So the changing can never have a reality of the changeless. So changeless is Adhishthanam, changing is Adhara Adeya. All this Adhara Adeya is only changing realities. Changing basically. Reality is only one, that is Vastu, that is Vastavam, that is Adhishthanam, that is Atma. That we will come to the next verse. So the difference between Adhara, Adeya and Adhisthana, I thought I will tell you, because Adhisthana is the real basis which has got a higher level of reality, higher order of reality, which is the reality of you, me and Ishvara. And compared to all other things, whatever we relate to in the world, all worldly things are all Namarupa. Adhisthana is the reality of you, me, as well as the being, that is Ishvara. That is the final understanding. So once that understanding is wound up and claimed, then there is no plus minus, sukha dukha, all those things, the samsara part of it is eliminated. So that is what we are trying to get to. But in step by step he is explaining that, yeah.
So even to say Adhara is not right.
We are not Adhara, in the sense we are Adhisthana. That is the
Yes. One may argue. Next paragraph.
No. One may argue that it is like the situation of a king. The citizens depend entirely upon the king, but he does not depend upon the citizens. One is independent, the other dependent. Similarly, all the worlds are dependent upon you, while you are independent of them. Yet there is a difference between the world and you. You have become the Adhara, and the world is the Adeya. Bhagavan has covered this by saying that he is Avyakta Murti. Sankara states its significance. An object which has a form is something that can be connected to another object. There is the possibility of Adhara Adeya, a basis based connection. For example, the dish is on the table and the table is on the ground. Since each of these has a form, it can be the Adhara basis for another object which has a form, the Adeya.
So this is what I am explaining. Donne ki nahi Adharama. The same thing he has mentioned here as object which is on the table, which is on the floor and all that. So he is explaining it in a way. Yeah.
Now let us consider the relationship between space and an object that has a form. It can be the Earth, it can be all the planets. All are based upon, accommodated in space, except space itself. The Lord says, but space also exists in me, consciousness, which has no form whatsoever. If all things exist in space, and space itself exists in me, then I have no location. If it is so, what kind of basis-based connection is there? With no location, there is no Adhara Adeya, basis-based difference. I am self-existent and everything is based upon me. Those who do not understand this fact may say that Atma is based, located in the Buddhi. The Buddhi is the place where you recognize the Atma. That is, as consciousness, it manifests there. But it does not mean that Atma is located there. Atma is that by which everything is pervaded, including your Buddhi, Maya
Tatam idam sarvam. By me everything is pervaded. Maya means not Maya. Maya means by me. That is the idea.
Buddhi, after all, is a vritti, and every vritti is nothing but Chaitanya Atma. A part vritti is consciousness plus the name and form. Part. Every vritti depends upon Chaitanya Atma, like how the waves depend entirely upon water. But Chaitanya Atma has no form that can be located anywhere. So it is not an object based upon something else. It is Vastu that has no form and has no connection with anything else. So it is not possible for it to be Adeya based upon something else. It is that in which everything is based. Therefore, Sankara says the nature of Atma is such that it has no connection whatsoever. Like the water has no connection with the wave. Between Satya and Mithya, there is no connection at all. Mithya does not exist apart from Satya. One is Adhisthana, and the other is a superimposition. Even the Adhara Adeya difference is not there.
This is what I was telling. See, the Adhara Adeya is meant only for relatively same level of objects. Whereas when it comes to Atma, it is Adhisthana because it has no, in the sense, even the space exists in Atma. Atma does not exist in space. Because it doesn't have a form, it has no non-existence, and because it is Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinam, which we have been telling. In the sense, it is not bound by time or space, it is not even an object, it doesn't have any causality. That is why Atma is the Adhisthana of all things. It is not that without Adhisthana nothing exists, but Adhisthana does not exist in anything. That is what he is saying. Nachamastani Bhutani. That we will come to now. Next thing. Yeah.
The Jagat is non-separate from me, yet I am independent of the Jagat because one is Satya and the other is Mithya. A connection can only be between two things that are Satya. If Atma is Satya and if there is any other Atma which is equally Satya, then we can say that one Atma is connected to the other Atma. One is based upon other, one depends upon the other. But there is no second Atma at all. If there were, you should be able to recognize it. Anything you can recognize is an object of Atma and not Atma. It is because Atma is consciousness which recognizes everything there is only one Atma which forms its own, which from its own standpoint is non-dual. It is pure Chaitanya Atma.
So that is how, again, the Satyam Mithya relationship also is like that. See, like you are telling, gold is not Satyam. With reference to chain, gold is better Satyam compared to the chain. Chain keeps changing, gold remains temporarily. But ultimately speaking, Satyam is only Atma. Everything else, including gold, everything, anything you name it is only name and form. So Satyam is a different level of order of reality, which is Atma. And everything else is Mithya. Whatever Vyavahara, whatever we see, whatever we deal with, whatever we can think of as an object or something, even a thought is only a Mithya. So what is Chit Swarupam, Sat Chit Anantam. Anantam meaning it is not bound by time, not bound by space. So Sat Chit Ananta. Ananta is Ananda because that is what everyone wants. That is a Purushartha, so it is Ananda. So Satchit Ananda Atma is the only Satyam. Everything else is Mithya. There are two orders of reality. One is Satyam, other is Mithya. So when between two orders of reality, there cannot be any basis-based relationship. Satya is one level of reality which is unchanging, changeless. Others are all changing. The changing has to, without the changeless, changing cannot be even perceived. Forget related to or dealt with. You can't even perceive a change without the changeless. That's what I am trying to say. Without Nirvishesha, you can't even perceive the world. You can't say this and then that. You are able to see this, forget it and then see that. That is why Vyavahara is possible, because you are changeless, totally changeless. It is not affected by either this or by that. So when you see this, you are able to see this. When you see that, you are able to see that. Shanam. Shana Bangura, listen, in the moment it goes off from your mind and you are able to see this. Because of that, Vyavahara is possible. So because of Satyam only, Vidya world is available for you to deal with. Otherwise, it's just not possible. Okay, as far as animals and plants are concerned, they are all already programmed. They don't have to think, look at Satyam and all that. They just live as per their instinct. They just come with a certain upadhi, live with the instinct and go away. So they don't have, whereas you and I have been given that freedom. With that freedom, if this understanding is not there, we will definitely use this freedom. Person who uses this freedom totally will be a free person. Person who does not use this freedom, gets influenced by his memories and grudges and all that, he becomes a samsari. Because he always remembers what has happened in the past, he is fearing of the future, he is remembering the past, and it is meant for only this. You see this, then forget it and see this. That is how we are programmed to be free, whereas we become bound. So that is why it's a contradiction of our evolution. We have already evolved into a being where our freedom is absolute. But we have surrendered that freedom to our samskara, and because of that, we live a life which is less than what we are supposed to. And then we are living in fear. Because we cannot own it up. We are a free person. As human beings, we are born with that freedom. Once we lose that freedom, we become jittery. And we think that jitteriness or the problems are belonging to this and that. No, it is because we have lost our freedom with which we are born. And we have to discover it. Unless you discover it and you own up that I am a free person, I am Atma, and then everything else becomes a vibhuti, my own vibhuti. This is, it becomes a glory for me. Then you can deal with anything depending on the situation. So that is what we are aiming at. The whole understanding is meant for human being because we are born into that. We cannot settle for anything less. Even though temporarily you may say, no, it's okay. It will not be okay. Sometime or other, someday or other, you will have to catch up with it. Otherwise, it will catch up with you. It will make you feel miserable. Irrespective of the money you make, the life you earn and all that, unless you discover this real freedom of being, peaceness, Satchit, Ananda, Swarupam, it will not leave you. That is so, it's the option's choice, Swamiji used to say. There is no choice really in this life. For a human, once you are born a human, you have to understand this. Otherwise, again you have to be born a human and understand this. So better to wait, postpone, better do it now. That is the idea.
Verse 5, Atma is consciousness, it is not connected to anything. Nacha mastani bhutani Pashyame yogam aishwaram bhuta bhrina cha bhutastho mamatma bhuta bhavanaha nacha matsthani bhutani, and the beings do not exist in me. My Aishwaram Yogam, connection of mind to the Jagat. Pashya, look at. Mama Atma, myself. Bhuta Bhavanaha is the creator of the beings. Bhuta Brit, the sustainer of the beings. Nacha Bhutastaha, and yet not residing in the beings. And the beings do not exist in me. Look at this Aishwara, connection of mind to the Jagat. Myself is the creator of the beings, the sustainer of the beings, and yet is not residing in the beings. First, Bhagavan said, Matstani Sarva Bhutani, all beings have their being in me. Now he says, Nacha Matstani Bhutani, and the beings do not exist in me. This removes any possible notion of Bhagavan being the Adhara of all these beings. If Atma is the only one, if Atma is only one and everything is dependent upon Atma, there is duality. And Bhagavan would be a huge samsari, because a samsari, after all, is someone with a number of dependents. To rule this out, he completely reverses his language and says, all these beings and things do not exist in me. It is like the clay saying, the pot exists in me. Then after thinking it over, it says, in fact, the pot does not exist in me. All that is in me is clay. I exist in my own right and do not depend upon the pot. There, clay is Satya. Anything else has no independent existence. It is only Namarupa. Similarly, every thought is me, but in me there is only Chaitanya. If you turn your vision towards Atma, there is no thought there. And for that you need not do anything. When one thought has gone and another is yet to come, what obtains is consciousness, Atma, independent of a thought, independent of the whole Jagat. That consciousness is the nature of Atma, and in its Swarupa there are no beings. Having said this, Bhagavan says something more to make it clear that there is no contradiction in what he has just said. Look at my connection, my glories. He says, Pashya me yogam aishwaram. Pashya means look, understand. The word aishwaram is an adjective to the word yoga and means that which belongs to Ishvara. Yoga here means connection. The Lord says, Pashya me yogam aishwaram. Look at my connection, that is with the Jagat. This is yoga, connection of the cause, Paramatma with the effect, Jagat. In any cause-effect relationship, the cause is independent of the effect, while the effect depends upon the cause. This is the reality from the standpoint of Karana Karya, cause-effect. If you go one step further and look at the Karana, is there a Karya? All that is there is only Karana, because Karya is nothing but Karana in another form. Therefore, the Lord says that the entire Jagat is nothing but Himself. The cause of the entire Jagat is Ishvara. It is all Ishvara's glory, which is why he says, Pashya me yogam aishwaram. If this is the nature of Atma, then along with Bhagavan, you can say the same thing. Along with Krishna, Arjuna can also say, Maya tatam idam sarvam. All this is pervaded by me. Because he understands that Atma pervades everything and there is no second Atma available. In Atma alone, all the beings exist, and at the same time, Atma is free from all beings. This is the nature of Atma, and anybody who understands this can say, Pashya me yogam aishwaram. Look at my connection, my glories.
This is the most important aspect of the whole thing. You must be, that is why I was saying, Mattaha Anyaha Na, the 7th chapter. Ishwaroham is our reality. That is the key to the whole thing, whole understanding.
But actually, Swamiji, really think of it, sometimes it is not, like you said, Mattaha Nanyana Namo, they are not able to really visualize how can that be.
Yeah, that is God.
God.
Because why we have to look at it is because of the Satyam Mithya. In the sense, the level of reality. At the level of reality of Atma, whatever that is changing is only a glory. It is not something which is affecting me. Because I am not really, that's what this Matsani Sarva Bhutani, Nachamastani Bhutani is. Even an iota of connection between Atma and Anatma is totally ruled out. In both these verses, Bhagavan clearly says this is one level of reality and the whole thing, whatever you are dealing with, including your body, mind, senses, your life, etc., is only a play. Whereas your reality, you are the reality, you are the sutradhar of the whole game. You are the being and everything else is a play around you. So this reality has to dawn on us. In the sense, it has to be real. As you rightly said, it doesn't come to manifest, fructify as real. That is what the whole journey is all about. The whole journey into our Shastra, the whole infrastructure is to claim, is to own up this reality. Must be, as we grow along, must be able to be like that and deal with the world. Then only it is fulfilling. So that is a reality. Not because it is a conditioning. It is not positive thinking or something. It is a reality. That is what, in so many ways, in so many verses and the whole 18th chapter, Bhagavan is himself explaining how even these two verses is very crucial for this understanding. Matstani Sarva Bhutani says at one level. Nachamastani Bhutani, same sentence he totally reverses. He himself, Bhagavan himself. The idea of Vyasa telling through the words of Bhagavan, unless it comes as a revealed knowledge, we are not going to own it up. And it is a reality. Once you are clear about it, it is yathartham, which I always used to say. It is yathartham. It is not very difficult. If you are able to be alert to that awareful being, the Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam. I am not a Vastu, I am not a thing, I am a being. I am timeless, spaceless. Right now, as we talk, I must be able to see that. My being, your being. And that being cannot be different. And it is definitely a different level of reality compared to everything else. Which has got Desa Kala Vastu Parinam Parimana. It is bound by certain things. Then only we can relate also. We can relate, we can transact only when there is a Kala Vastu Parimana. Parimana has to be there. But that Parimana itself, we can freely deal with and interact and transact only when we are not that Parinama. We are the changeless. Then only we are, in reality, in the sense, as yathartham, we can deal with the world only when we clearly understand that we are Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinnam. We are changeless and I am dealing with a changing world. Yathartham, as it is. Otherwise, we will get afflicted. We will get connected to one thing or other. And then naturally, it will be not reality. Once you get connected, you will be influenced by that connection rather than the reality. So, only person who can be really, that is why that our book, there is one book called Yoga of Objectivity by Swami. In this thing it is there. So, the only objective person is only as a person who has understood life. Not every other objectivity is only relative objectivity. Objectivity means what is not, I am not objectifiable, Atma. Everything else is object. That is the real objectivity. That book talks about that. It's a famous book and also it is a curriculum for objectivity science in Houston University, US. It's part of that. The book is a syllabus, part of the syllabus. Because the faculty there is from Swamiji's student. So she has made it a subject, curriculum there, Yoga of Objectivity. Because the ultimate objectivity is only a person who understands self as the being, as Ishvara Swarupam. Everyone else is only subjectively objective. To that extent, I understand. That's all. So that is what it is meaning. These two verses are very important verses. That is why you spend so much time there. Yeah.
Actually,
they're all paradoxes.
No, when I come to think of it, Swamiji, I also thought of Bhagavan Ramana, that Akshara Manamale. He only talks about that the mountain and Shiva, Arunachaleshwara, although he was aware that Advaita, he knows.
That is why That is why he was able to transact straight away, move into that without any, because he had that inspiration. He straight away dropped the whole identification and went and sat there in Arunachala.
But on the Aksharamanamali Patel, that the meanings, talking glory of Arunachaleswara, and என்ன வந்து நீ முழுங்கிட்ட வரது இல்லையா at all. So something, அப்போ அந்த மாதிரி when I think like that, the glory is something totally different from what I am. Although we may think it's the same, sometimes I wonder how that such a glory, how can it include me?
Yeah, that is why it is, instead of saying I am that, Ishwaroham. That is why the final understanding should be Ishwaroham. I am as Ishwara. That's all. The I gets dropped totally. I gets dissolved in Ishwara.
Yes.
So Ishwaroham is easily to accept. Whereas I am Ishwara, difficult. Whereas Ishwaroham, Ishwara alone is. God only is. Ishwara alone is there. That is what Swami famous statement. All that is here is Ishwara. The individual is only name form. Whereas all that is here is Ishwara. That Swarupam is Atma Brahman. That is how we have to understand ultimately. Yeah.
Okay. And
What is the duality? One doubt, Swamiji.
Yeah.
What is the duality mentioned in the previous slokas and all? Can you just describe about that? How comes duality into play?
Where?
Previous paragraphs when we are reading talks about duality.
The Karana Karya, in the sense, the Karya is an effect, Karana is a cause. So, in order to, like, for example, we are talking about the gold is the Karana, chain is the Karya, okay? But if you analyze, scrutinize, chain is nothing but the gold. Swamiji used to say, if you ask the gold, where is the chain, he will say, the gold will protest. I have nothing to do with chain. I am only gold. Chain and bangle and ring and all are, you are giving the name. I have nothing to do with any of them. If gold itself has a mouth, it will protest, Swamiji used to say. I am only gold. Why are you calling me chain? That is all your problem. I have nothing to do with it. So, ultimately the cause and karya, karana and karya is only a prakriya, a methodology to explain. Finally, only karanam exists. No karyam. Every karyam is only nama rupa. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. The sense, just nama rupa. The whole thing. Part is, if you look at part is only a name. Name for what? Non-part. What is non-part? You give a partness as a, definition. Such and such attributes, if it is having, it is called partness. And the one which has got partness is part. One which has partness is part, and partness is because of part. That means neither of them is satyam. Both are really go out of the window. Neither part nor partness exists. Only clay exists. Then again, clay and clayness. If you analyze, clay and clayness is only name and form. It goes to silica. If silica, you analyze nothing but carbon, hydrogen. And if you go back, atom, molecule, they are all only concepts. A concept is appearing in the mind. Mind itself is what? Only when there is a lit by the Chaitanyam, there is mind. Otherwise there is no mind. Even when you are seeing an object, suppose your mind is not there, you don't see the object. And mind also goes in sleep, it is not there. So that also is got only a limited existence. So ultimately only consciousness exists. That is the non-dual, Satyam. Everything else is only relative existence. That is why, that is what was explained. In the sense, for explaining that, all these duality are quoted. Chain, gold, pot, clay. From what we know, we transact. That is called Tatastha Lakshanam. In the sense, what we transact, through that we are trying to understand the Swarupa Lakshanam, which is Satyam. Like even, the clear example is, when you want to show a moon to the child, you will say, now see the tree, where the moon is the child does. You will say, see the tree. There are two branches. Between the branches you see, you will see the moon. So the branches are only Tatastha Lakshanam. It is not, moon has nothing to do with the branches. But in order to explain moon, you use the branches. So, likewise, A Karana Karya, the duality is only an a methodology, a prakriya, a model through which non-duality is explained. This model or the prakriya or the duality is only mithya, through which once we understand Satyam, the reality of all this get dropped. So there is no duality. Ultimately, non-dual is Satyam, duality is only a mithya glory. That's what he said. All paradoxes are glories. The next para starts with all paradoxes are glories. Glory meaning vibhuti, meaning it is not Satyam, it is because of that glory I am able to appreciate the glory of Ishvara and Aham, my Swarupa. In order to appreciate the Swarupa of me, Ananda Swarupa, Satchit Ananda Swarupa, all these samagris are required. That's all. They are all only of that limited purpose of knowing the Swarupa. All this, the whole world is all about. So that is how we have to look at the whole thing. There is no real duality. Duality is mithya. Yeah.
Right, Swamiji. You mentioned about Swarupa and Tatastha.
Yeah.
What are those things?
Tatastha meaning that by which Swarupa is understood. A methodology, a prakriya, Tatastha Lakshanam. It is called, in the sense, you cannot locate the Swarupa. In order to locate the Swarupa, you have to, what you right now see, what you are able to see, you are using that, the teacher explains, you see this? Yeah, I am able to see this branch. The child is not able to see. I am able to see these two branches. You are able to see these two branches? Yes. Through that, can you see the gap in the two branches? Yes. Through the gap you see? Yes. Yeah, now I see the moon. Otherwise the child will not be able to see the moon. Or in order to make the child see the moon, the tatastham meaning the branches are used. Tatastham means what you see right now in front of you. And Swarupa is the reality which you are not able to see originally, which you see later. So Lakshana meaning it is not Vachyartha, it is Lakshyartha, meaning through the words, branches, see the gap, all are only words. But it is the meaning what you are looking for is the Swarupa, the moon, further down. Between the branches, between the space, etc., etc. In the same way, the clay, pot, gold, chain, bangle, etc., all these are methodologies of Karana Karya Prakriya through which I am able to make you understand that the whole world is nothing but Nama Rupa. What subsists in the Nama Rupa is Swarupa, the Atma. Because of the Nirvishesha Desa Kala Vastu Aparichinna Atma, you are able to see and feel Desa Kala Vastu, Parinama Vastu. All your transactions in the world are possible only because of the Nirvishesha Atma. So Nirvishesha Atma is the Swarupa. All Visheshas are only Nama Rupa. They are Tatastha Lakshanam. Or they are the Prakriya. They are the methodology through which Swarupa is explained. Which I have sent a message some WhatsApp also some time back. If you understand that the Swarupa is the reality and everything else is only Nama Rupa, you can transact. That is called Sahaja Tadatmyam. Whereas if you look at whatever you see as real, then it becomes Bhranti Tadatmyam. Then it will become Samsara. That I have sent a message also, WhatsApp message. So the whole thing is like that. It's all methodology. Tatastha Lakshanam, Swarupa Lakshanam, Karana Karya Prakriya. All are only models or methodologies through which the Swarupa, which is not objectifiable, because you and I, the being, is not objectifiable. Without objectifiable, how will you use the words which are used to objectify things? All the words and meanings in our languages are all used for only Vyavahara, for objectifying things. But using the same language, remove all objectification, you arrive at the meaning of your Swarupa, which is not defined by any word or meaning. So that is the beauty of the whole teaching. That is how we have to look at it. You have to, in the sense, you have to keep looking at it in the same way, then you will get it. Yeah.
Yes, Swamiji, you mentioned about the Tadatmyam, something like that.
Yeah, I have sent you the message, no, sometime back. In the group. Tadatmyam is, the sense, taking one thing for the other. See, Tadatmyam means what? That, for example, I am so and so. So, what I say, I am so and so, when I say I am, that I am is Atma. Whereas so and so is only the name of the body given by the parents. We think, we equate it. In the sense, I always used to say, in the same sentence, பொய்யையும் உண்மையும் சேர்த்து சொல்ற ஒரே ஆளு மனுஷன் மட்டும் தான். I am is Satyam, whereas Kumar is Mithya. Whereas we assert to the whole world that I am Kumar. That is called Tadatmyam. The Tadatmyam is Bhranti Tadatmyam, meaning confused Tadatmyam. To think that I am Kumar, just for Vyavahara you can use it. But taking it as real is Bhranti Tadatmyam. If you don't take it as real, you are only for Vyavahara I am doing this, whereas I am is Atma, Kumar is only for a transactable world. If that clarity is there, then it is called Sahaja Tadatmyam. So, if you live in the world of Sahaja Tadatmyam, you are a Samsari. If you live in the Bhranti Tadatmyam, then you are a Samsari. So, there is nothing to do with the world. So, it's all your understanding of life. Yeah.
Okay, Swami, thank you.
All paradoxes are glories. Atma is the cause of everything, and the recognition that takes place about this Jagat is that Jagat is also I. But when the beings do not exist, what do I have to talk about? All I see is Brahman. There is no Jagat here. Nacha matstani bhutani. There is no connection between Atma and Jagat because there is no second thing belonging to the same order of reality to get connected. This is the Ascharya, wonder, and which is why he says, Pashyame Yogam Aishwaram. It is a wonder from another standpoint too, which Bhagavan expresses in this paradox. He says, Mama Atma Bhutaprit Nacha Bhutastaha. Myself is Bhutabrit but not Bhutastaha. Brit means one who sustains or upholds. Bhutabrit is one who sustains all the beings, Bhutas. Atma sustains all the beings by giving Satta, existence to all of them. Like clay sustains the pot, Atma sustains the Jagat. At the same time, it is not located in the Bhutas, Nacha Bhutastaha. That is, it is not limited by any of the Bhutas. When the Lord says he is Bhutabrit, he is not engaged in this big task of sustaining the world. That is why Lord Vishnu is portrayed as Shayanaha Sarvam Pibatti.
Sayanaha Sarvam Pibatti.
Sayanaha Sarvam Pibatti. Lying down, he sustains everything. Just as Atma Chaitanya sustains your thought without getting involved in any manner. The meaning is there is no Sangha connection in any manner. Further, he is not located in the Bhutas. Since Atma has no form, it cannot be Bhutastha residing in the Bhutas. That is why he says, all the Bhutas are located in me, whereas I am not located in the Bhutas, I am Asanga. Bhagavan says, Mama Atma Bhutabrit Nacha Bhutastaha. This word Mama is in genitive case, which usually indicates a connection. Shankara says here that it is purely in keeping with the common understanding. People look upon the body as themselves, and therefore Mama Atma means Atma belonging to the body. The problem in modern Vedanta is that they superimpose the Ahankara upon Atma, not knowing the Swarupa of Atma. Then they will say you must realize the self, the Atma of yourself, which is other than the self that obtains no. This self is subject to samsara, etc. But there is a real self that you should realize. You first create two selves, then remain two. The truth is that the one who has to realize the self is the self to be realized. There is no other self besides the self that exists right now. The Ahankara that claims to be the self is born of error, and we are correcting this error by removing ignorance about the self-evident Atma. So there is no division. This must be very clear. The mention of Mama Atma is purely from the standpoint of the superimposition. If you superimpose the body-mind-sense complex on Atma, Atma becomes as good as the body, and you get the conclusion, I am a human being. On the I, the body-mind senses are superimposed, and thereby Atma becomes a samsari who has to now realize the real Atma.
This is what I was mentioning. When I said just now, no, this is what I was mentioning. Yeah.
Thus, there is no Mama Atma, there is only one Atma. When Krishna says Mama Atma, there are no two entities, I and mine. His Swarupa, Sat Chit Ananda alone is there. There is no other Krishna other than that Atma. Mama Atma, which is Sat Chit Ananda Atma, is Bhuta Bhavana. By a mere thought, with the help of Maya, Atma creates everything. Mama Atma makes the whole order of creation evolve and provides it with the sustenance to grow. It is not an agent appointed by anyone to take care of the world like a house sitter. It is not that Bhagavan created the world and then asked the Atma to take care of it. It is not that some Atma would sustain it but have no Sangha because it is not his house. Here, in conjunction with Bhuta Bhavana, Atma should be understood as Sat Chit Ananda Atma. Sat Chit Ananda Atma, through its own Maya, creates everything. And because all the Bhutas are Mithya, the Lord can say, Bhuta Brit, I am the sustainer of all beings, and Nacha Aham Bhutastaha, I do not reside in the beings. And again, that is the reason he can say, Mat Stani Sarva Bhutani, all the beings have their being in me. And in the same breath, he can also say, Nacha Mastani Sarva Bhutani, all beings do not exist in me. It is because they are all Mithya. These two verses completely destroy the concepts of duality and creation. The entire creation becomes purely figurative and upachara. Then what is created? When you say, Nacha Mastani Sarva Bhutani, there is nothing in me, there is only Atma. You are not accountable at all for what you created. It is like a person who dreamt and woke up. If you ask him what he did, he will say that he created a whole world just out of his own thoughts. And if you ask him if that world was separate from him, he will say all of them were in me, Mat Stani Sarva Bhutani. If you were to ask him, do you depend upon them? He would say, no, not at all. It was my own glory, my own creation. Furthermore, I am a Bhuta Brit, the one who sustains the whole world. And again, if you were to ask him, who created the world? He would say, myself, my Atma, created the entire dream world. In all this, there is no contradiction because in the dream, the entire dream world was nothing but the dreamer. Similarly, Bhagavan says that he creates everything and he sustains everything. Then in the next breath, he says he does not have the task of running the world because there are no beings at all. There is nothing there to sustain. When a person wakes up from the dream and talks about the dream world he experienced is only from the standpoint of that dream. The waker is a single person. You have to account for a world that is created, sustained, etc. only when you accept the world as an independent entity. Only then can you ask, who created the world? The Lord would say, I created this world. The next question is, who sustains the world? The Lord says, I sustain this world. Then, are you dependent upon the world? No, I am not dependent on the world. Is the world dependent upon you? Yes, the Lord would say. So, it looks as though he has a great task of sustaining this world. But if you ask him about it, he will ask, what task? It is because in reality, there is no world other than Ishvara. All that is here is Ishvara. Krishna is everywhere or nowhere. He is in no particular place, but he pervades the entire Jagat. That is why he said, Pashyame Yogam Aishwaram. This is my glory, which is to be understood. With these two verses, Satya and Mithya are very clearly established. There is nothing more than me. I am the maker, the sustainer of everything, and I am the one who dissolves everything. In fact, in me there is no world at all. And all that is here in the form of this world is nothing other than me.
See, so he starts with, even this para, he starts with, there is nothing more than me, and ends up with saying, there is nothing other than me. So that is the beauty of it, yeah.
Bhagavan says this, and the one who understands the Swarupa of Bhagavan as the Swarupa of oneself can also say the same. Everything that was said in these two verses is now illustrated with an example in the next verse.
Yeah. Both these two verses are very important. Just go through it. Maybe when next week when we start, I will just give a summary of that again, Vakyam, and then we'll start.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamaya Purnameswaya